Yeah, I mean, sure, I'd like to be back. I really, I thought we made a big step. I thought we were moving in the direction exactly where we need to be moving. They're a real tight group. They're good to be around on a daily basis. So, yeah, absolutely, I'd like to be back. But now, as anything at this time of year, the powers that be have to sit down and evaluate everything, and they'll make a decision. And that's what everybody goes with. So that's kind of where we're at. We'll see how the next little bit unfolds.
Ryan Pike, go ahead.
Hey, Geoff.
Hey, Ryan.
I know coaches are pretty hesitant to really single out players, but I'm curious, during your time behind the bench, which players do you think took big steps this season and really impressed you?
Well, I thought a lot of guys took steps, Ryan, to be honest with you, in a lot of different ways. I mean, as players, we all have things that we want to get better at. And I thought a lot of guys, got a lot better in a lot of different areas. Some guys, it was the defensive part of their game. Some guys, found a little bit more offense in their game. I think some guys made huge strides with leadership. So there was a lot of real positive things in our room from a lot of different players. I could sit here and probably come up with something for every guy for you. For the length of the call, it's probably not the most critical thing to do right now, or for lack of a better word. But I thought the guys made a lot of strides, and I thought as a team we made huge strides, and there's a lot of really good things that we can build on going into next year.
Moses Waldo, go ahead.
Just in regards to coming back and the desire to be a head coach, if they decide to go a different direction, would you still want to be part of this organization, even back as an assistant? Is that something you ever considered?
Well, sure, I'll consider it. I mean, I'm a coach. I'm a career coach, so I've got no issues. I've worked with an awful lot of good people as an assistant coach. I like the organization. I like the team. Yeah, I mean, I'll sit down and listen to anything that they want to talk to me about.
Back to Wes. Wes, go ahead.
Geoff, I'm curious. I know you've kind of referenced the build in Boston lots of times, and how 2010 helped 2011 become possible. Is there a way to kind of sum up what needs to happen now? Like, you feel like this team took some big steps. How do you take that next one, if that makes sense?
A team goes through stages. I think we're at the contender-to-champion stage. I think we're past the point where we're just winners, where we're around 500. We've made the playoffs 2 years in a row now, so I think we're trying to get from that winning stage. Well, through the winning stage, I would say that we're probably through it now into the early contending stage. And now we've got to learn, what it takes to go from an early contending status into a championship status. And, that requires, I think, really for us just to continue along the path that we are now. I think there's a lot of really good pieces in order to make that happen. But yeah, just, really reinforcing the things that we learned this year in terms of, how important it is to be good away from the puck, how important it is to be good on special teams, the commitment of each and every guy to the team. There's a lot of things, how important leadership is, how important it is when you see a chance to lead that you do so. I think all those things are really good lessons for our team. I think we're scratching the surface there. And our guys now aren't afraid to have the hard conversations with each other. And I think that's a real critical thing. I think in order to be successful, you have to be able to deal with each other on two different levels. You have to be able to deal with each other as people. And I think we have an extremely tight team. But you also have to be able to deal with each other as players and coaches. And that's a different kind of communication. And sometimes, if you're not secure in the first kind of the communication, how you feel about each other as people, I think sometimes the second part of the communication is difficult to achieve because, when you talk about what you need from a player, or what players need from each other, if you don't trust, that everybody in that room likes each other and believes in each other, then guys start taking those messages to be as a slight to their self-esteem. And I think when that happens, things can fall apart on you. But I think our guys, understand now what that communication is all about. I think they know now that the wins are way more important than maybe individual points and goals and those types of things. And so all those things are really important for us as we move along this next stage of our evolution, and that is becoming a strong contending team and moving it into becoming a championship team.
Cami Kepke, go ahead.
Yeah. Milan has mentioned the turning point for him was when he took over in December, and he was pretty emotional this morning, saying he finally felt like himself again. He was contributing in a number of ways. I'm curious if you saw a difference in him at the start of this season when he was pretty down on himself and where his career was at compared to when you knew him back in the Boston days. And where do you think he goes from here role-wise after that resurgence in the second half of the season and playoffs?
Well, we always had a belief, I mean, when he showed up here in the fall, you could see that he was having, he wasn't as confident a player as I remember him being in the past when I was with him in Boston. I thought he did a tremendous job as the year went on, regaining his form, and he started having fun again at the game. I don't think he was having very much fun with the game when he first arrived here. But he, he grew. He grew into being an important person in our dressing room, and he was able to carry that role in there out onto the ice. And I think that gave him a lot of confidence, and to the point where you saw him performing the way that he did. We always felt like there was more hockey in Milan. I think he's shown that. And then as far as where his role goes, I think it's the same now as it was after the pandemic. You come back into camp, and you'll play yourself into a spot. And then we'll start from there. And then just like everything else, we work with players, we challenge them to expand their roles. And, then the whole thing starts over again in terms of where the team will settle out. But, we were very pleased as a coaching staff with Milan, especially down through those last few games before the pandemic, what he was able to do through the pandemic. And then post-pandemic into the playoffs, I thought he was a real strong performer for us. And to be quite honest with you, I see an awful lot of things in him that we used to see when we were together in Boston. So that's a positive sign, and we're looking forward to having him back.
Pat Steinberg, go ahead.
Coach, with all of what your group and all of what you dealt with this season, including a 4.5-month break, if you are back as head coach next year, if you're not back as head coach next year, just as a coach, how does this season grow you, and what do you take from it to be a better coach going forward?
Well, I think I'm like anybody else. I've got to sit down and really, take a look at all that, Pat. Obviously I'm going to, ask questions of my assistant coaches, people I work with every day. I mean, they'll give me a pretty, as much as we want the players to have hard conversations, we have hard conversations as coaches, and, I'll take their feedback really seriously. But, that's where I'll start, because they're working with me, every day. And so they sort of see, what's good, maybe what can be improved. I'll have those conversations as well with management, with people I trust in the game in terms of, who watched our team play an awful lot. I'll tie into all those resources, and that's where I'll start my evaluation. And then from there, I'll come up with a personal plan for myself for next season.